There is a cat that used to sit on your street corner. You walked past it for months. Maybe you fed it once or twice. Maybe you just nodded at it, like a familiar face in a neighborhood you've lived in long enough. And then one day it wasn't there. Not injured, not visibly sick, just gone. You probably assumed it moved on, found another territory, or got taken in by someone down the block. That is almost certainly not what happened. Feral and stray cats disappear from familiar locations every single day. Millions of them. Disease, predation, exposure, injury. The mortality rate in unmanaged feral cat populations is extraordinarily high. Studies estimate the average feral cat lives between 2 and 5 years, a fraction of an indoor domestic cat. That means the cats you see on your street are cycling through at a rate most people never register. Because the ones that die are replaced by new ones before the absence fully registers, and because the bodies almost never appear where you would find them. Where do they go? And this is not a small question. This is one of the most consistently asked questions among people who monitor feral cat colonies. The answer is far more specific, far stranger, and in some ways far more unsettling than most realize. Welcome back, and if you're new here, subscribe before you leave. What you're about to learn happens on your street with a regularity most people never perceive. It will permanently change the way you think about every cat you've watched disappear. Today we're going into what happens in the final hours of a feral cat's life, where the bodies go, and why the evidence vanishes so completely that most people never find it. Stay until the end because we cover a behavior suggesting feral cats may have an awareness of their mortality. Let's start with the numbers, because the scale of this is bigger than most people grasp. North America is home to an estimated 30 to 80 million feral and stray cats at any given time. The range is wide because feral cats are extraordinarily difficult to census, as they avoid humans by design. According to research, annual mortality rates in unmanaged feral colonies average between 30 and 50%. That means in any given year, between 9 and 40 million feral cats die across North America alone. If even a fraction of those bodies remained visible for more than a few hours, you would encounter dead cats on sidewalks, in alleys, in yards, and yet most people who have fed feral cats for years rarely if ever found a body. The statistical gap between dying cats and the bodies you see is not an accident. It is the output of biological systems that make feral cat death invisible. The cat does not die where you are looking. This is the first part of the answer, and it is the most important. A feral cat in the final stages of illness does not remain in the open. It moves deliberately toward the densest and most inaccessible cover it can reach. Research on terminal illness consistently documents this same behavioral shift. As a cat's condition deteriorates, its behavior changes in very specific ways. It stops using open space, stops its routes, and withdraws from social contact. It seeks concealment in locations that are difficult for larger animals to access. This is not a conscious decision. It is an instinctive threat response. A cat that cannot run or fight is vulnerable to predation. The same instinct that drives a healthy cat to hide drives a dying cat away. Under dense brush, inside collapsed structures, beneath foundations, in drainage culverts. It hides in spaces that humans walk past without even looking into. The cat does not go somewhere dramatic. It goes somewhere small and dark. It dies there, out of sight, in a location you would never think to check. The body disappears faster than you would believe possible. The window between death and complete disappearance is measured in hours. Research on scavenger efficiency found that removal takes between 2 and 6 hours. 2 to 6 hours. That is all it takes for the evidence to be gone. If it dies at 3 a.m., the body is gone before you leave for work. The scavengers responsible are not the vultures or coyotes you might picture. You are looking at animals that operate quietly, efficiently, and largely invisibly. Raccoons are present in virtually every North American urban and suburban environment. They are opportunistic omnivores that actively patrol territories for food, including carcasses. A raccoon encountering a cat-sized carcass will begin consuming or relocating it within minutes. Opossums have a metabolic need for calcium and actively seek out bones to strip. Foxes are expanding into urban environments and cache food in locations far away. And then there are the invertebrates. In warm weather, blowflies locate a carcass within minutes and begin ovipositing immediately. Dermestid beetles, the same used in museums, begin consuming soft tissue rapidly. In summer, a small carcass in a concealed location is reduced to bones in 3 days. In winter, the process is slower, but the concealment usually compensates. The bones scatter, they are small, they are off the path. You never find them. Predation removes the body before it ever becomes a body. A significant portion of feral cat deaths do not leave a carcass at all. Predation of feral cats is more common in urban environments than you realize. Coyotes have colonized every major American city. Research documented that cats represent a significant portion of urban coyote diet. A coyote does not leave the body at the kill site. It drags the carcass to dense cover, leaving a scatter of fur in places you never walk. Great horned owls are year-round residents that take cats up to 4 kilograms. An owl takes a cat and carries it to a perch to consume what it can. It drops a compacted pellet containing fur and bone hundreds of meters away. There is no body. There is no visible evidence. The cat is simply gone. The death happened. The predation event happened. But it happened in darkness. It happened in silence, in a location you were not watching. By morning, the physical evidence had been relocated or consumed. But there is a part of this that researchers did not expect. Among the people who manage feral cat colonies over long periods, caretakers who know individual cats by sight monitor their health. A pattern has been observed that took researchers time to take seriously. In the days before a feral cat disappears, its behavior changes. Not just the withdrawal into cover that marks physical decline, but something earlier, something subtler. Cats entering decline before visible symptoms begin behaving differently. Colony members with stable social relationships show shifts in behavior. Some increase contact with familiar cats or familiar human caretakers. Some become unusually still in locations they normally move through. Some spend time in locations with no value, sitting without hunting. They are simply present. Whether these shifts represent awareness of death is a cautious question. The evidence is observational, drawn from caretaker reports, and the behaviors have multiple explanations rooted in physical discomfort. But research on cat social cognition has established they track states with a precision that was previously underestimated. Cats in stable relationships show stress responses to familiar companions. They adjust their behavior in response to the internal state of others. If cats can read the state of others, the question becomes harder to dismiss. What caretakers describe is a cat in its final days, doing something that looked less like decline and more like departure. A cat that appeared one last time, stayed long, allowed contact, and then was gone. Whether that is biology or behavior is a question without a clean answer. Here is what we know. The feral cat that disappeared from your street corner did not move on. It died within a small radius of where you knew it. It selected a location for concealment in a process that removed nearly all physical evidence within hours. The death happened close to you, in the dark. The body was there briefly, in a gap in the fence, or under the porch, or in the crawl space of the abandoned garage 2 doors down. The scavengers came, and the insects came. By the time you walked past the corner and noticed the absence, the evidence had been processed by the same ecological systems that process every death. It happened in every urban ecosystem, quietly, efficiently, and completely. The cat is not somewhere else. It is not in a better yard or a warmer alley. It is exactly where it chose to go, and it chose somewhere you would never look. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a feral or stray cat disappear from your life without explanation? How long had you known it? And I want to hear about it. I read everyone, and I will see you in the next one.